Out here, the wasteland doesn't remember your name. It remembers your logo. Vault-Tec understood that before the bombs ever fell. They didn't just build vault doors. They built a smile. A bright little grin you could swallow and call it hope. You've seen him. Everywhere. On manuals, on posters, on the very screen that tells you you're bleeding out, while he keeps smiling like it's a birthday party. They call him Vault Boy. And for decades, real decades, we thought he was just a corporate cartoon. But the new canon peeled the paint back. Because in the show, that smile had a face first. A man. A name. A life that Vault-Tec could spend and then erase. And that's the story today. Not just where Vault Boy came from, but what it cost to make optimism profitable. Let's start where the trail is clean. 1997, the first Fallout. Back then, he wasn't even Vault Boy. The manual called him Vault Man. And inside the studio, Interplay, he was remembered as something even simpler. A skill guy. A little card character meant to explain stats without choking the player in numbers. Here's the trick. Fallout wanted to be cruel and funny at the same time. Not comedy, not misery. Both. So the artists needed a mascot who could stand inside horror and grin like a salesman. Leonard Boyarsky pulled from mid-century Americana, instructional cartoons, bright propaganda, and that Monopoly vibe. Rich Uncle Pennybags energy, repackaged for nuclear doom. Tim Kaine later recalled the instruction plain as bone. Draw something like Mr. Moneybags in Monopoly. So they did. And they refined him. Artists stepping in, shaping the face, the curl, the grin, until the icon locked into place. And there he was. A bright mascot for a corporation that sells safety while the world is already coughing smoke. That's Fallout. A smile glued on top of the scream. But here's the important part. In the games, he never needed a real origin. He was an archetype, the cheery everyman of Vault-Tec propaganda, a reminder that the old world could market a coffin and call it luxury. So when the TV series promised an origin story, a lot of old-timers braced for impact. But the show is canon. Therefore, anything it adds becomes another brick in the timeline wall. But an origin can cheapen a symbol. A mascot works because it's bigger than a person. Therefore, fans worried. Why pin Vault Boy to a specific man when the whole point is that he's not human? But the writers didn't treat it like trivia. They treated it like a corporate crime scene. Therefore, the reveal lands like a knife wrapped in a gift bow. Vault Boy was inspired by Cooper Howard, and the show does something Fallout always did best. It makes you laugh, and then it makes you feel guilty for laughing, because the smile is still there, but now you know what it's hiding. Cooper Howard, pre-war, isn't some nobody. He's a recognizable face, a Hollywood man built for cameras. And Vault-Tec, like always, sees a tool. They put him in a blue and yellow vault suit and stage the sales pitch like it's a family celebration. There's a moment, this is key, where people want the pose, the signature thumbs up, the easy grin. And Cooper hesitates, not because he can't perform, but because the air feels wrong, because the world is leaning toward the edge. Then comes the line that hit the community like a bottle cap in the teeth, the rule of thumb. Hold up your thumb, measure the cloud. If it's bigger than your thumb, don't bother running. And I'll tell you why that stings. Because the show doesn't say, this is the meaning. It says, this is a story a Marine told his kid. A myth that becomes a memory that becomes a marketing pose. And right there, Fallout does its best magic trick. It lets both truths exist. The cheerful thumbs up and the death measurement, stacked on top of each other like rotten boards. Now you might ask, Manny, it's just a mascot. No, a mascot is permission. Vault-Tec sold vaults to families who were terrified, and terror makes people easy to steer. If you give them a smile they can believe. Every time a parent signed a vault contract, every time a child watched a training reel, Vault Boy's grin said, "This is normal. This is fine. This is safe." And that's the human cost. Not one death, millions of choices made softer because a cartoon told them to relax. And the cruelest twist? The show implies Vault-Tec didn't just hire Cooper, it replaced him. Turned the man into an illustration. A billboard peeling back to reveal the face underneath. The brand swallowing the human. The turning point isn't a gunshot, it's an approval. A room full of marketing minds seeing the thumbs up and saying, "Yes, that's it. That's what we sell." Because Vault-Tec never sold concrete. They sold emotional anesthesia. And if the show is canon, then its truths ripple forward. This isn't trivia. It's timeline gravity. After the bombs, Vault Boy survives in a way no human can. Posters don't starve. Slogans don't bleed. Mascots don't cough up radiation. They just keep smiling, while the world becomes a graveyard of bad corporate promises. And now, the symbol is bigger than ever. New eyes, old ruins. People crawling through fallout trying to understand what that grin really means. That's why this origin matters. It's the gateway drug, the icon that pulls outsiders into the archive. I've rebuilt walls, reinforced settlement gates, argued over water lines like they were matters of faith. But the strongest structures in the wasteland are ideas. And Vault Boy is the strongest idea Vault-Tec ever poured into the world. A smiling lie, a comforting interface over a brutal truth. A mascot so good, people argued about his thumb for years instead of asking who was holding the knife. So when you see him again, that grin, that wink, that thumbs up, don't just think perk. Think, who needed you calm right before the end? Because out here, the wasteland doesn't remember your name. It remembers your logo. That entry never stops playing.
Archive node reconnecting. Space Corp terminal online.
Well, you made it to the end, Wastelander, and I want to thank you for walking this dusty road with me. These stories, they live because you keep listening, because you care, because the Wasteland still has folks like you out there. If you've got a topic you want me to dig into next, a vault, a faction, a legend, a cover-up, send it my way. Space Corp is always monitoring incoming requests. And hey, if you enjoyed this archive entry, press that like button. It keeps the terminal lights on. And if you want more stories from the ruins, go on and subscribe. Your support helps Space Corp recover and preserve every last fragment of our shattered world.
Loading next recommended archive file. File located. Displaying now.
It's right there on your screen. Go on. Open it. I'll meet you inside.